Thank you for your joining the training session today. Last week, we covered a lot of information and concepts regarding the ISO 27001. We covered the theory and the standard components, covering the clauses and the annex. Also, we implemented some of the ISO 27001 clauses into the virtual company, which called XYZ company. And we implement the organization context clause, leadership and commitment clause, planning clause. These are the three clauses which we covered last week. And based on the analysis which we did for XYZ company, we discovered a lot of information and we made a lot of changes in the XYZ company to be certified against ISO 27001. We introduced a new department for the security operations. We introduced a new department for risk management. And of course, when I am saying introduce a new department, this does not mean that you must have a big department. This department, it can be only consists of one person who will be responsible for all the tasks which we are looking for. Today we will go through another module, which is module 6, and this it will cover the clause number 7, the support. In clause number 7, it consists of 5 sub-clauses. Sub-clause number 1, it's resources, competence, awareness, communication, and documented information. These are the sub-clauses of clause number 7. We have to understand these clauses well, then we will be able to implement the ISO 27001 and implement these requirements to pass the ISO 27001 certificate. Let's go through the understanding phase of the ISO 27001 requirements. What do we have? We have, as we mentioned, the resources, competence, awareness, communication, and the documented information. First thing, it will be the resources. Before going further in the slide, just I want to remind you that we mentioned that the resources is the responsibility of the top management. We have to provide the required resources for the ISO and ISMS implementation. And these resources, it can be financial, it can be people, it can be time, it can be facilities, hardware, software, tools, whatever. And we defined a list of the resources required for the XYZ company when we discussed the module for the leadership. If you want more information about these resources which we defined for XYZ company, you can refer to the recording for the day before yesterday in the module number 4. So we covered these resources in more details in the module number 5. Then we will come to another sub-clause, which is the competence. And we said that what is the competence? That the competence, it is the ability to apply your knowledge and the skill to achieve results. The ability to apply knowledge and skills to achieve the intended results. Okay, then the competence, we have different levels of competence which we have to work on. Number one, you have to work on the organization competence, the organization competence of the organization itself, the ability to develop processes, procedures, policies, guidelines, principles, and to evaluate the competence, the ability of the organization to evaluate the competence of its company, of its employee. Another type of competence, which is the team and group competence. These competence which required for team working, as leadership, team working. These are the important issues for the team and group competence. And finally, we will have the individual competence. Individual competence, this it will be the possibility or ability to develop competence programs, the roles and responsibilities, behavior of the staff regarding the maybe the training courses or the rules and responsibilities regarding some specific issue in our situation here in ISMS and the ISO implementation in general for security and so on. And these are the areas or the fields which we have to make sure that we have the appropriate competence required for the implementation of the ISO and the ISMS. I remembered when we discussed this in the clauses as a theory, we mentioned that there is a good approach which is very important. And this approach, I really appreciate that you can go through it if you want to implement not just the ISMS, but anything in your life. If you want to implement it and you have some resources, then first of all, you have to define what do you have, what do you need, what do you require, what are the needs for competence required to implement the ISO and ISMS. Number one, you need to competence to develop policies, procedures, processes. You need the skills of management and leadership. You want the skills for risk management, competence for design the security controls implemented and operated, communication skills, monitoring and measurement skills, ISMS continual improvement skills, and so on. Then you can also, we can add here the internal audit skills. When these are the competence which you want, you can keep it in a paper and you can work more professional. This is just topics when you can mention, for example, management and leadership. What are the requirements? It will be number one, security policy. Number two, developing of roles and responsibilities. This means that you must have a powerful HR department which it can be able to develop roles and responsibilities for the ISMS, and they must have an idea about the ISMS, when they will be able to develop the rules and responsibilities in a proper way. Also, you need someone who have financial background to install to figure out the cost, how much the ISMS it will cost, and how much the competence, awareness, training, and all these resources it's required, and so on. When you can't define all these contents in more details, and as much as details you will provide, it will be easier for the gap analysis. Number two, you have to understand what is the existing organization competence do you have. This it can be done by multiple ways. Number one, you can make a questionnaire. You can make a questionnaire and send it to by email. Then each employee, he can type what is his competence and specialization, for example. Or it can be done by face-to-face meeting. If this is a big company, then it will not be easy. Then face-to-face meeting, it will be better with the direct managers or the midline managers, when they will be able to give you an idea about the competence which they have in their departments. Also, it can be done by using the intranet website where employees can post messages for you or for the contact person for the competence program manager about their skills and about their wishes to work in the ISMS implementation, and so on. Then after that, you can start to perform the gap analysis. You compare what the required competence do you have and what is the existing organization competence which you find it in your organization. In this situation, we have three scenarios. The scenario number one, that your competence level is outstanding and it's a great one in the organization, when this means that we don't need any help from outside and we can utilize the internal staff to implement the ISMS and operate it. In some situations or some organization, you might find that the competence level it's moderate, it's in middle, it's in medium. Then in this case, you can deliver training programs for the staffing to improve their competence and skills. And also you can utilize an external consultancy service when he can supervise and help the organization employees in the ISMS implementation and operation process. Finally, if the competence level is very poor and it's not easy to develop through training courses, then it will be better to hire a third party to be for implementing the ISMS as a consultancy service. And on the same hand, they can train the organization employees for the ISMS operations and maintenance. Any questions regarding the competence? Any questions?
No, but I have a general question. Can I ask?
Sure, go ahead.
Asking, let's assume there is a company that it has no security measures, no security plans, nothing. And they ask me to make an ISO 27001 for them, or like a general security plan for them. What is the first step I take? What should be my first agenda?
Risk management, risk assessment.
And risk management, risk assessment, should it be mine, or should I have a third company check the general security and get a security report?
Okay, this is a good question. As I mentioned yesterday, risk management or risk assessment, this is considered as a backbone for any security requirements. Now, your customer, they require you to implement some security controls. In other words, they want to have information security. Okay, then we have to understand what are the assets which they want to protect. Also, we have to understand the criticality of these assets and what are the threats and what are the vulnerabilities and what are the risks which we have it. Unfortunately, in the market, in our market now in Middle East, what you will find that there may be your company, it will call an external or third party solution provider, and it will ask him to make a security solution. Then we will tell him, yes, oh, okay, wow, 1 minute. We have a great solution for you. First of all, you know, before asking anything, he will propose the solution. We have here the internet, then we can divide your network into 3 phases. This, it will be the external zone, this it will be DMZ zone, this it will be network internal zone. Here we will have a firewall, here we will have another firewall, and we will have here a mail firewall. We will host services in this zone, and he will start to do all the this scenario for them. And unfortunately, the company, it will say, okay, that's great, please come and implement this in our company. Unfortunately, this is strong approach because you don't know what are the requirements of your customer. You don't know, because in some situation when we had some scenarios and we went to our customers and we told them, okay, that's fine. Let's understand what do you have. Then we can discover what is the important issues for you and what are the risks which you may face. Then we will be able to provide you the appropriate controls. We discovered that they have some information in the company. It's published on a web server and we need secure access for it. Then in this situation, there is no need to install 3 phases and all this stuff. All what we need to have a VPN SSL device, and this it will be used from outside to initiate a secure connection to their servers. And this means that instead of doing all these solutions, and it may cost them maybe 1 million or more than 1 million Saudi riyals, just what we need, only VPN, the SSL device, and it will cost them maybe 50 or 60,000 only. Then the point behind that, I mean, even if they don't have security controls, we have anything, that's great, no problem. What we have to do, make the risk assessment, understand the assets, understand the risks, understand the threats, understand the vulnerabilities, choose the appropriate risk treatment controls, risk treatment plan, and the appropriate controls which it will fulfill their needs and requirements. Okay.
So generally, if I'm asked to make a policy, I have to check the risk assessment. I have to start the risk assessment and risk management. Okay, the risk assessment and risk management. How do I exactly start it? I ask the top management of the on the expected risk and then do my own security assessment on the place, or how do I exactly risk assess?
No, we explained the concept of the risk assessment in last module number 5. And we mentioned when you will go and ask for the risk management, this is not the role of a security consultant, because the security consultant, he does not understand all the business processes. This is teamwork. You have to come. Risk assessment. What is the risk assessment? Risk assessment, it has some phases. If you can remember module number 5, or I prefer to go back for the recording and have a look on it, we mentioned that in the risk assessment, we have risk management, we have multiple processes. We have the risk management program, context establishment, risk identification, analysis, evaluation, acceptance, treatment, and finally monitoring. Each one of them, you must have a risk team, and this risk management team, it must have a representative from each and every business division. You must have one from financial department, you must have one from HR, one from manufacturing, if you have manufacturing, one from sales department, one from each and every department, you must have one. And you start to understand the processes and the activities, processes, information assets, and the products, services. When you will understand all this information, you will be able to figure out a list with the assets. What are the primary assets and what are the supporting assets. And when you will get the list of the supporting and primary assets, this means that you will start to understand what are the vulnerabilities and what are the threats. Who will be able to provide you this information, as we mentioned yesterday? This information, you will not be able to figure it out on your own, because these are sometimes related to manufacturing or to some business fields which you are not involved in. Then the process owner or the business process owners must be involved with you when we will provide you this information, and you have to work very close with them. This is what we call them subject matter expert, SME. These are the SMEs for the process. We will provide you the information about the assets, its criticality for the operations and value, threats, what are the vulnerabilities, in some situation will tell you, yes, we have this process, but this process, it's not up to date because we make some changes and these changes are not updated in the process. For example, then this will be considered as a weakness, which it should be highlighted and so on. And when we discovered all this information, you can work after that to figure out the impact of these risks and the likelihood. And according to impact and likelihood, you will be able to define the risk level. If you define the risk level, then this means that you define the risk criticality. And according to risk criticality, in this case, you can define the treatment plan. The treatment plan, it can, as we mentioned yesterday, that you have 4 options that you can mitigate, you can avoid, you can transfer, you can accept. And based on the final risk treatment plan, then you can define the controls. These controls, it can be administrative controls, it can be policies, it can be processes, it can be technical controls as firewalls, as VPN, as whatever, any security devices, anti-malware or software or whatever, or it can be some physical controls like, as we mentioned, which it be used to protect a data center as a physical to protect the fences, light, and so on. Then, when these are the steps of the risk management, after you complete the risk management, you will find that you are able to deliver the security controls. The beauty of this approach that the controls which you will provide it, it's not like this approach. This approach is a strong one because this I can provide you a lot of solutions which you may not need, and on the other hand, it may have a lack of some countermeasures or controls which your business really need. But the approach which I just explained right now for the risk management, it helps you to understand the assets and what are the risks. And according to this, you are able to define the security controls required for the protection.
Okay, I think I have a solid grasp, but just to make sure I understand. First thing to do, I make a team for the risk management from all the departments of the company, try to get an idea of the daily processes and the daily inner working to try and understand the assets, then go through the steps of risk management, which is prioritizing finding the risk, prioritizing, and risk treatment, correct?
Yes, yes, this is right, and this it will be the best approach for it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, the point number 2, it will be the, or sub-clause number 2, it will be, or 3, it will be the awareness. And as we mentioned, the awareness, it's the purpose of the awareness to promote or raise awareness along the target audience for a specific topic. Then this means that if you remember when we said that in the awareness, you have to be very careful. Why? Because the awareness session, it's not just single session for all the companies. This is the wrong approach, or this the commercial approach. I want to have awareness. Okay, take care. Email, don't open email which you don't know it. Don't open the websites which you don't know it. You have to use VPN. You don't have to look into these sites which you are not sure about their contents. This is okay. I'm not saying this is bad. This is great, but this it will considered as general awareness. And this general awareness, it must be assigned for all the users. But look here in XYZ company, what do we have? We have employees, we have the supervisors, we have the mid-level management, and we have top-level management. We have 4 groups or 4 types of users. This means that if we have 4 types of users, what do you think? How many awareness sessions do you require in this company?
Can you repeat the question?
How many sessions of awareness session do you require in XYZ company if you know that we have 4 different companies, four different types of users: employees, supervisors, mid-level, top management.
There should be five. The one that should be the general and one for each department, each user type.
Yes, that's right. And this, it will be the good approach as well. Why? Because we have to work with the general one. Sometimes it may be require more than five. That's fine. It depends upon the business needs. I'm not saying that this is rigid approach. No, this is the minimum required approach. But the rigid approach, it depends upon the business needs. In some situation, we are developing 10 and 15 and 20 and awareness program for email alone and for internet usage alone and for desktop usage alone and so on. When this, it depends upon the organization and the type of the users. But the minimum which we require here in XYZ company, it will be 5 sessions. It will be great. You must have a session for employees. You have to explain to them the rules and responsibilities, and if they don't adhere to these rules and responsibilities, what will be the consequences for the organization. Supervisors, mid-level management, you have to concentrate on the operations and management. They are caring about the daily operations and management. The top management, you have to concentrate on the strategic objectives, on risk management, on resources, rules and responsibilities, and so on. And finally, you must have the session which it will be responsible, or it will contain the general awareness for email, for internet access, for acceptance usage, for protecting company assets, and so on. In the awareness program, you have to create an awareness program. What is awareness program? Awareness program, this, it will be a document, or it will be a process which it will show what are the awareness sessions required, and who are the when these sessions it will be arranged, what is the type of the session, and the awareness will be conducted. For example, some of them, it will be conducted through face-to-face, or it may be gathering, or short training courses, or emails. Also, what are the required resources? What are the required resources, including the funding? And this, it will be very important, because the awareness program, this, it will improve the employees' roles and responsibilities understanding. Also, you will have employees buy-in. And this is the most important thing. If the user will understand the importance of the ISMS processes, then they will be very helpful for you, and they will provide you the detailed information about the processes, about the daily operations, about the problems which we are facing, which you can discover a lot of valuable information. It can be very helpful for you in protecting the company assets and values. Also, you have to explain to them, as we mentioned, the very important if they adhere to the ISMS implement rules and responsibilities, and what we will lose, and or what are the consequences if they don't adhere to these responsibilities. If you did not, for example, we mentioned that NEBC, it will be sold by the company after the expiry date, then this means that the data, it should be deleted in a proper way. And this, if the data is not deleted in a proper way because the security engineer or the data center engineer, he did not do the exercise correctly, then this means that this, it can lead to a data leakage, and this, it will be a violation. And if the data, it's privacy, a part of the privacy data, then this means that we are having a problem with the compliance and the law against laws and regulations. Okay. Also, what are the components which it should be in the awareness program, which you have to take it in your mind while you are design awareness session. You have to explain the security policy. You have to explain the ISMS rule and what is the advantages for the ISMS. What is the ISMS processes and activities? What are some security basics? Of course, this is very important because these employees, we are not security engineers and we don't have a security background. Then you have to explain to them some security basics. What is the encryption? What is the decryption? What is ISMS? What do you mean by protection? You have to explain to them what is access control, the passwords, encryption, and so on. And these security basics and components, it will be very important. Then after that, you can work with them with the security policy. Then you can explain to them, after you explain the security policy, the importance of the ISMS rule. And after that, you can explain to them their roles and responsibilities in the ISMS. It's very important, of course, to make proper design for the awareness program, because this, if you are providing a lot of information and the user, we did not know or we don't have the information, have the background information, which it will help them to understand the awareness session, then this awareness session, it will be a waste of time and money. If you did not clarify security basics and components and you start to explain after that the security policy, then what are the roles and responsibilities and so on, and you start immediately by roles and responsibilities, just imagine you are telling them you are responsible for 1, 2, 3, 4, and even we don't know what we are responsible for. Then, of course, the awareness program and sessions is very important to design it and prepare it in a proper way. I am highlighting this point because there are a lot of companies, we are saying, oh, awareness, it's very easy. We have to explain to them this and that, and this, it will be enough. No, awareness, it's not very easy. Awareness, it's a really important issue. In some situations, it will be very complicated. In awareness, we have a lot of approaches. Some companies, we know that it's not easy for employee to catch the information, even if you send it to him as email or whatever, but if you send it to them as a joke or as flyer or as a comic, then they will catch it very easy. Something like phishing attacks, if you explain to them the phishing attacks, for example, in a video for a few minutes, this it will be very helpful. You have to explain to them, take care, some emails you may receive it, and this email, it will be exactly the same as the bank website, and you will receive email. It's telling you that your account is on hold and you will not be able to access your bank account until you enter your username and password immediately. Otherwise, the account will be disabled. If you are not aware about security, then immediately user will log in by username and password, and of course this is considered a phishing attack, because in the background these emails, it would be sent to the hacker. He will collect the username and password and he will start to access your accounts, bank accounts, and he will withdraw all your balance from the accounts. With this one of the awareness session, a nice video, it will take few minutes. And when I'm saying again video, this does not mean that I have to bring a designer to make videos for me. My friends, now we are doing video training. And this video training, I does not need any resources rather than a PowerPoint presentation and the Zoom. And now I am recording this as a video, and I can provide it to you as a video, although I don't have any desire or anything. And just for your information, do you know that the PowerPoint, it can develop and it can create videos? If you don't know that, just when you will save your presentation and you will go and say save as, in one of the save as, I think MP4 or MPG, MPEG. I think one of the extension is MPEG. When the presentation, it will be saved in video mode. It will be MPEG or MP4, and this presentation, instead of stored in BBTX, it will be stored as video. And now you create a video in a very simple way without any efforts. Okay. The last important point is the evaluation of awareness program. We create an awareness program and we made the sessions and the trainings, and these sessions and trainings, it may be in the form of training courses, meetings, gatherings, videos, whatever it is. We have to evaluate if their awareness program succeeds or not. Of course, when we say awareness program, then we have to keep in our mind when we make a progress awareness program, we have to define what are the objectives. You remember when I told you we are in life doing nothing without any reasons. When I will have an awareness program, then this means that I must have objectives. Why do I create an awareness program? Because I want to increase the awareness regarding security, about ISMS, about the ISO, about the roles and responsibilities, and so on. On the other hand, if I want to evaluate, this means that I must have some evaluation criteria. What is this evaluation criteria? How can I make sure that the awareness program achieved its objectives? There are many different ways, but the main two ways which I like very much. Way number one, that you have, or the direct manager, they have to evaluate the behavior of the employees after the awareness program. And let's check, do they have the attitude of the security? Now they are not leaving any confidential papers on their desk. They are not leaving their unattended machines open. They have to unlock the machine before they are leaving. If they find any risk, they have to raise it to their management or direct manager and to be escalated to upper management. Then this means that the direct manager, they have to evaluate the employees' behavior after the awareness program, and if the awareness program make a difference for them or not. This point number one. Point number two, as usual, all of us know that when you are attending any training, 90%, I don't want to say more than 90%, but let's say 90% of the attendees, they are just sitting and even they did not hear anything. They are just sitting and doing nothing. If it's online, then we are muting the voice, and that's great. We are doing nothing. And after the training is finished, when we say evaluate it, okay, thank you very much, it was great, and we will take the attendance certificate, and that's it. We know that, and this is part of life. We know that. Of course, we have another ways to discover this type of trainees and persons. But anyway, how we can discover this in the awareness session? Usually when I am doing awareness session in companies, what I have to do, first thing I have to do it when I start the awareness program, awareness session, I have to make a quiz. First thing, I have to make the quiz. I give them the quiz, 15 minutes for the quiz. How you are doing a quiz without explaining to us anything? Okay, sorry, this is our agreement with your management. If you don't agree about it, go and discuss this with your management, not with us. Then usually they will accept it and they will answer the questions. Then I have to collect these papers and I will start my awareness session. It will take 1 or 2 or 3 hours or whatever. Done. We are finished. Then I have to distribute the same quiz once more. The same quiz, I have to distribute it once more and give it to them. Again, give them 15 minutes or 20 minutes, then collect these papers. Then I will make the compare the results of both of the two quizzes, quiz number 1, quiz number 2. If the results of the quiz number 1, it's the number of the right answers at least double the number of the quiz number 1, then this means that the awareness session, it was succeed. But if I find that the awareness questions or the awareness quiz, second quiz, the answers, it's less than the second one, this means that there was something wrong in the awareness session and we are confused. Another point which is very important, and I hope that you will keep this in your mind, you will need it when you will work in the field, but and that time you will remember me, but I ask prayer for me at that time when you remember these facts and these practical points. Let me ask you a question. What's your opinion? Suppose that I have a user and he had in quiz number 1, 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10. What do you think? What will be his score in the quiz number 2? What is the your expectation? What is the score out of 10?
I expect the score would at least be 8 or more.
Okay. Any other opinion?
I think it will be average, like 5.
Okay, then what you are saying, both of you, that of course it must be improved, right?
Yes, that's the expected result.
Okay. From our practical experience, my friends, we found that in some situation it will not be the reference like that. Why? In some situation, what will happen? And this, by the way, usually we do it as a nice story or a video. I am not sure. Do we have Dr. Navid with us or not?
And Navid is with us.
Okay, I thought you are not there, then I would say, okay, let's speak in Arabic, but it's okay. Okay, let me tell you something, my friends. In some situation, I will tell you a story, and this is a standard story we studied in the instructor skills. You know, there is a course called Train the Trainers. Train the Trainers. And if I want to be certified Cisco instructor or certified Microsoft instructor or certified soft skills instructors, and I am already did all this, then you have to pass these courses, which we are called the Train the Trainers. One of the exercises which we are giving to us, it will be like that. They will give us a paper, A4 paper, consists of numbers from 1 to 100. A paper consists of numbers from 1 to 100. And they will tell us, start within 5 minutes, make a circle around the numbers from 1 till you reach to 100 within 5 minutes. Start. When we start to circle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, stop. When we stop. Then you will find some people, they are doing from 1 to 10, others from 1 to 15, others from 1 to 20. Some others, we did not find number 1 even at all, and so on. Okay, great. The second part of the exercise, we will tell you, if you fold the A4 paper into 2 parts, into one time, what will happen? On the right hand side, you will find the even numbers, and on the left hand side, you will find the odd numbers. Wow, this additional part is information. Then if I have A4 paper, I fold it. Then on the right hand side, I'll find the even, and the left hand side the odd. Then by logic, I'd say, oh, then life it will be easier. What I have to do to fold the paper, when I search for 1, I have to look for the right hand side, 2, left hand side, right hand side, left hand side, and so on. Then we'll say start from 1 till whatever. Then we found that some others, they will make the information, although in the first exercise, they did from 1 to 15, but in the second one, although we provide them with more information, but they did only from 1 to 10. And there are another category, which they did from 1 to 15, and the second time they did from 1 to 25. then you will find the some people, they are different. Some people, they will get confused when you will provide them with more detailed and more information. When you will provide more information and details for them, it will confuse them. And this means that you have to study the people who are sitting in front of you. Don't, I want to ask you a question. I don't know if you know it or not. Why in any training courses, when you attend any training courses, we have to tell you, please introduce yourself and tell me your experience? Why? What is the point behind this request in each training course?
To try and gauge the understanding and the language proficiency of each person.
Understanding what?
Trying gauge the level of proficiency in the specific skill and to try and understand their proficiency in the language that they are speaking.
Okay, the part one, it is the right one, because I want to understand who is sitting in front of me. For example, now, when I want to arrange a course for UBM students, I have to understand what are the courses did they study. I have to understand what is their experience. What is the expectation out of this course? When I arranged it with Dr. Naveed and I asked him, Dr. Naveed, the students, we have enough information about the standard, about 27001, did they work with it before? And I collect a lot of information from him. Then now I have an imagination of the technical level of the trainees who will attend the course. In some situation, it may be in training center, you will find that some of the attendees are expert in ISO, some others, we don't have information at all, and so on. And in this case, I have to work with the pace of the slower one. The person who does not know anything about the ISO, he will be the person who will mandate how the training course, it will go through the information, because I will not do the session for the one who is expert. I have to do the level, the presentation or the training for the one who has the minimum information, because you want to understand the topic. And this, it will be the same concept which you will follow in the training, you have to do it in the awareness. Although this, it's not a part of the ISO, but anyway, as we mentioned, our plan to share our experience with you. You are the future engineers of security in the market, inshallah. Okay, the clause number 7.4 is the communication. Of course, communication, as we mentioned, it's a backbone of, I don't want to say that backbone of the ISMS implementation operation, it's backbone of life. If there is no communication, then there is no life. There is no communication, there is no life. But what is the role of a communication in the ISS implementation and operation? We want to keep all the stakeholders informed with the ISMS progress and the information. We want them to be informed. We want to have a communication channel. This communication channel, it's a win-win relation. My friends. Why? Because if I have a proper communication channel, then this means that I will be able to understand the processes from the stakeholders. I have to understand the assets, criticality of assets, what are the threats, the vulnerabilities. You remember when we said that this information, it's not your responsibility to collect. You have to work with the process owners to understand it. And when you will collect all this information, you will be able to get all this information from them. Then you have to provide them some information and you have to collect some information from them. You have to give them the status of the project implementation, how it's going, what is the meaning of ISMS, what are the rules and responsibilities. And on the other hand, you have to collect some information from them as what are the assets, what are the business processes, what is the criticality of the assets, and so on. you must have a communication plan. In the communication plan, it's very important to have the following information. Who are your internal and external stakeholders, and what is their power for the project? Do they support the ISMS or they are against ISMS? What is the type of the messages which you want to communicate? And of course, you have to be very careful. You have to be very careful, because if you want to provide critical information, this information must go to the right persons. This information must go to the right persons. And who will contact or who will communicate the information, and who is the person who should receive the information. Yani, for example, when in pandemic for COVID-19, in Ministry of Health, you will find some specific person. This specific person, he is responsible to tell you the information about the pandemic, what are the number of infected cases, what are the number of the persons who are treated, and so on. Then these have a professional communication plan. We have professional communication plan, and you will find all the information which you receive it every day. We are the same. Then they will give you the number of infected persons, number of healed persons, number of dead persons, total number of infection in Saudi Arabia, and so on. And this means that we defined what is the information which it has to be communicated, who is the person which should communicate, and usually he will be the same persons in the whole days, and to whom it should be communicated. Of course, this it will be the media. It's not a specific person. This it will be the public or the media in general. Also, it's very important in the communication plan to understand the type and method of the information which you want to communicate. Is it email? Is it SMS? WhatsApp message? Whatever the maybe a letter or fax or whatever the method which you have to send this information. Also, you have to understand the technical level of the stakeholders, because if the stakeholder is a business oriented, then don't speak to him about the encryption, VPN, we'll use IPsec, and we'll use VPN SSL, because you are speaking a different language. Now you are not speaking an English language, you are speaking Chinese, and of course he does not know Chinese. Then whatever any information you send it to him, he will drop it, because this is not clear for him. Also, you have to check the frequency of the communication. Is it daily, every week, every month, every year, whatever? Then you have to work with them. Of course, here we don't have what we call the right answer. I never tell you, if some of you, he will call me, Osama, please, we need your help. I want to make a communication plan. Please, can you give me a ready communication plan when I can communicate to my customers? I'll tell you, there is nothing called ready communicated plans, because in some situation, if I say frequency of the stakeholders communication, in some situation or in some business, then frequency, it will be daily, and it should be daily. In some situations, it may be manufacturing. In manufacturing, it's long-term processes. When the communication, it may be weekly or maybe monthly. And we don't have something, we call it standard for a plan, but we can have a template. We can have a template, but you have to define the frequency, you have to define the format, you have to define who are the stakeholders, you have to define the technical level, and so on. Last point, you must have some acknowledgement for method from the stakeholder that they received the information and they understood this communication. And I remember one of my customers, after we worked with them in a security project and we delivered the project, then my management, they asked me, we did not find any acknowledgement from this customer about the solution and its effectiveness. And this is a point against our policy, because our policy mandate, even if we delivered a project and the customer signed off the project, it does not mean that we have to drop the customer. We have to keep in contact with him. We have to make sure that we are satisfied and the security controls working fine. We have to check its effectiveness and efficiency and so on. But I told him, don't worry, I am quite sure that we are satisfied. Why? They said, why you are sure about it? Because I told them, I am receiving a call or twice every day. They are asking about something. Then this means that we are satisfied. We are involved in the exercise. We know it very well. When we will ask, did we do that? Did we did or we did not? What we have to do, so and so on. Then this means that there is no need for acknowledgement, because in this situation, the types of calls which I receive it daily, it's considered as the acknowledgement which I am looking for. And this what we call that we want to have the acknowledgement. If it's not easy to have the acknowledgement from your customer, you can communicate with him by phone. Did you receive my email? What's your opinion? Are you satisfied? What are your points against this one? In some situation, gentlemen, life is difficult. Yes, I received an email from you and I may read it, but I did not find the time to reply. But if you give him a quick call, okay, I tell you, yeah, I remember there is one point I just want to raise it. I'm not satisfied about this case. If you can take care about it, it will be very helpful for you, because it will help you to improve your program. Okay. What are this clause number 5, sub-clause number 5, 7.5 for the documented information? And as you remember, we mentioned that we have two different types of documents, which is a document and record. This document, it will be a guideline. The document, it will be a guideline. As we mentioned before, this it can be policy, procedure, whatever, and the record, it will be a document stating results achieved or providing evidence for specific activities. Then we have two different types of documents, which are the documents and the records. These are the documents which you have to care about them. Of course, any company, they have to develop a standard for their documentation. We have to develop standard for their document. What is this standard? The document must have a title, author, date, format, a specific template, review and approval information. These are the important things which it should be provided by any document, because this document in an organization, it must be standard. It's not professional that I receive a document from financial department in a different format from the one which I receive it from the HR department, or on a different letterhead paper, or in a different structure. This is not professional. Then this means that you must have a template, and this template should be utilized over the whole company. Sorry, I don't know why it was jumped like that. I will try to open it again. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Now, after you create the template, you have to make documents controls. Document control, this is very important and it's mandatory. What is the document control? Usually in document control, you can find the change history. Today it's version number 1, tomorrow version number 2, we add these changes in the version and so on. Review period, the document, it must be reviewed periodically, especially for procedures, guidelines, processes. Who is the document owner? What is the distribution list? Who are the person which they should receive a copy of the document? And finally, who should approve this document? What are the important aspects regarding the organization documentation. First of all, the documentation must be available for the authorized users. It must be available for authorized users. It can be available over a shared folder, machine, internet, intranet, whatever, but it must be published and under controls to protect its confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And these are the, what we call it, CIA, which are representing the pillars of the security. Also, you have to define the retention period. This document, it will be valid for 5 years, for example. After that, when the document, it should be retired. What are the actions which should be performed after the retention period is expired? It will go to the trash, or it will go to the fire, or what is actually the method for retire the document? Is it shredder, for example, whatever the method, but it should be very clear for all the employees. And this, which we call it the disposal method. Okay, now these are the information which we, this phase, there is no need to go to this phase because this phase is already covered in the last phase. What we have to go in direct now to the implementation of the support requirements for the XYZ company. Number one, for the resources, we mentioned in the resources, we have the adequate funding. This a quick review for the resources which we highlight in module number 5, leadership and commitment. We mentioned that we need the funding, we need training courses, awareness program, dedicated team, project manager, war room, contact person from each department, notebooks, email and collaboration tools, network communication, dedicated time for ISMS implementation team, transportation between Riyadh and Jubail. These are the resources required by the XYZ company, and the list of these resources was defined by the project manager for the ISMS implementation. For the competence, when we want to make the competence analysis in XYZ company, we found that the XYZ company does not have an outstanding competence in implementing the ISMS. They make the gap analysis and they found that they don't have the outstanding competence, and the XYZ company decide that, or the XYZ company management decide that the security team can operate the ISMS processes and procedure on daily basis. Then the competence for implementation, it's not available. The results of the gap analysis, we have two different things, for implementation and for operation. For the implementation, we don't have the competence for this task. But for the operation, yes, we have the operation, and we introduce a new department for the security, and this team, they will be able to handle and operate the ISMS. Okay, then what are the management decisions after we had this gap analysis? The management, they decide to hire a third-party consultant to implement ISMS, because as we mentioned that the company, they don't have the proper competence for the implementation. And we have to conduct the training courses for XYZ security team. Then they will be able to help the external consultant and to perform the daily operation of ISMS project documentation. Also, we have to evaluate the training courses to ensure its effectiveness and efficiency. And finally, we have to encourage the security team members to increasing their salaries, for example, to attend and pass ISMS and ISO 27001 international certifications. These are the practical steps which it would be followed in XYZ company in implementing clause number 7.2 for the competence. Competence training courses, evaluation. Of course, after you develop the training programs for the staff, you have to evaluate it. And this evaluation, as we mentioned before, that the trainee should evaluate the training course at its end. When the training course is completed, the employees, we have to evaluate the course and say their opinion about these courses, if it was helpful or not, and if we have to add some ideas for the improvement in the future, and so on. Another way of evaluation, it will be the direct manager feedback about the competence and the skills of the employees after they attending the training courses in managing their daily operation tasks and activities. Also, we evaluate employment involvement in SIMS and ISO implementation, and after we attend the training courses. Here, what do we mean? In some situation, you will find that the employees, they are understanding the security, they are understanding ISMS, they will start to raise some compliance and some risks, and they will notify their management about some risks which they have to be taken in consideration, and so on. And this means that the competence training and the awareness training, it was done properly, and this improved the user's experience. For the awareness session, XYZ company, they decide that there must be some awareness programs, and these awareness programs, it will be in the form of short training courses. It may be half day, email messages, it will be sent daily or at a specific time for the users, and they will speak about the security in every and each gathering and business meetings introduction. You know, when we start any business introduction, we have to say, okay, we will have 5 minutes for speaking about the COVID-19 and this pandemic, which we have it, and what are the recommendations. You have to take the vaccine and all these things. This, it can be done also for the security. Also, the management of the XYZ company, they keep in their mind the importance of the external stakeholders. And we said that we will have short training courses for them, email messages, and face-to-face meeting to improve their awareness for the security, because we are considered a part of the XYZ company, because we are exchanging data with them and we are doing business together. And of course, it will be very important to evaluate the awareness program after they attend the event by the employee or the external stakeholders. Here for awareness program example, you will find here the target audience. It will be internal stakeholders, the employees, the technical level, it's intermediate, awareness type, it will be training courses, email messages, gathering and business meeting introduction. What will be the topics included in the awareness? ISMS, ISO, security policy, security basics, understanding risks, ISMS rules and responsibility, consequences if they don't adhere for their security responsibilities, I mean. What are the resources required? Awareness session fund, meeting rooms reservation, awareness session material preparation by XYZ awareness program owner, or we may have to utilize third-party services. It depends if they don't have the experience to do it. How we evaluate the awareness program? By direct manager's evaluation, and by awareness program owner, they request the employee feedback and evaluation about the courses which they attend. Another example, it will be the category, it will be the external stakeholders. The audience are the partners, technical level, we are professionals, awareness type training courses and email messages, the awareness topics, ISMS, the ISO, XYZ company security policy, compliance with XYZ security policy, rules and responsibilities for ISMS, and how to evaluate. We will evaluate XYZ company. It will evaluate the partners for their commitment with XYZ company security needs and requirements. This, it will be a measure if the awareness program succeeds for the external partners or not. And also the awareness program owner, he will be responsible to send a request for evaluation of the users or the external stakeholders as well. Okay, the awareness program evaluation, as we mentioned, we will perform the evaluation for awareness program. This evaluation, it can be performed online evaluation questionnaire for employees, or we can send quarterly email for employees and vendors. Assign awareness program manager then as a contact person. Then if any employee they have any idea or complaint or suggestion, he can contact them. And also the awareness session evaluation, it's mandatory. This is mandatory. The communication, how the communication, it will be integrated into XYZ company. XYZ company, we understand the importance of the communication because it will have internal and external stakeholders buy-in, and we will obtain information detailed about the business processes and procedures from these stakeholders, and the feedback of the stakeholders. It will be very important for the continual improvement of ISMS, and the stakeholders, this communication, it will help them to understand their goals and responsibilities. And what are the management decisions that we have to develop communication program, and we discussed the communication programs before, and we have to evaluate the communication program as well with the persons to evaluate, make sure that this the data and information, it was communicated in a proper way. Here, one example of the XYZ company communication program. The internal stakeholders, the audience are the employees, the persons themselves. Who is the stakeholder contact person? It will be the employee himself. Their technical level intermediate type of communication, email, intranet messages, gatherings. XYZ contact person, it will be the communication program manager. Frequency, it will be regular updates every month or urgent news on the fly. Also, another example for external stakeholders who are the partners. Who is the stakeholder contact person? It will be the account manager. Technical level, we are professional. Type of communication, email or direct emails. XYZ company contact person, it will be the program manager, communication program manager, and the update frequency, it will be every 1 month, and urgent news on the fly as well. How it will be evaluated? It can be evaluated through emails or online, or through the direct communication with the communication program manager, as we did with the internal users. Last clause for the support, it's for the XYZ company for the documentation. That XYZ company management decision, they decide to have templates for processes, procedures, and policies. And the English language, it will be the standard language. Microsoft Office, it will be the standard document editor, and they will publish these templates over the XYZ company intranet website, and we will publish the ISMS and ISO documentation on the company intranet website, also with the appropriate classification, confidential. And finally, we will provide the security controls to the intranet website to protect the information which is hosted on the intranet. These are the management decisions. And again, this is a template. Template from the, or example of the template which the XYZ company, they approved. These are the document controls. These are the document controls. This the document history. You'll find the version, what is the date, who is the author, what are the changes. Also, you will find here the document review, who will review it, and the review period, what is the date, and signature of reviewer. The document history, sorry, this is by mistake. I repeated by mistake. Okay. Now almost we are done, but we want to see what are the important documentation which we have to include from this clause. The competence. The competence records, it's very important, and this it's required by the ISO 27001. And these competence records, it can be in form of evaluation, it can be a form of technical certificate or attendance certificate or whatever the information which it will prove the competence and the competence development of your staff. Okay, as a quick recap for the clause number 7, we covered the clause number 7, support, resources, competence, awareness, communication, and document information. And based on our study, we make some changes and steps for implementing the ISO in XYZ company. We figured out the list of resources. We developed competence program. We developed awareness program. We developed communication program, and we developed templates, document information templates, and documents controls. I think these 6 tasks, it was really helpful and very useful for the implementation of our XYZ company ISO 27001 and ISMS. Okay, now we came to the end of module number 6. We came to the end of module number 6. Any questions?
No questions, alhamdulillah.
Okay. I think now we can open module number 7, and we will start a little bit for it until we reach to Maghrib prayer in Eastern Province. Okay. In module number 6, we will cover the operations. We will cover the operations. And the operations, it represents the module or the clause number 8, sorry, clause number 8. Clause number 8, it consists of, happened again, I don't know what's going on here. We have 3 sub-clauses: the operational, planning, and control. We have the information security risk assessment, and finally we have the information security risk treatment. And of course, as you remembered when we discussed the clauses, I told you why did we see the risk assessment phases and risk treatment phases again, although we covered this in more details in clause number 6. And clause number 6, it was a part of the planning. And again, we see it in clause number 8 in the operations. Can you remember the answer?
Can you repeat the question?
the question, why do we see the information risk assessment and the information security risk treatment in the operations, although we covered these two processes in more details in the phase number, clause number 6 in the planning? Why we in clause
because
number?
there are two different phases. The clause number 6 is in the planning, and clause number 8 is in the doing.
Can you raise your voice? I am not able to recognize. What did you say?
Okay, so I said that because they are in two different phases. The first one is in the planning phase, which is clause 6, and clause 8 is we start the implementation. So we start implementing the risk management and doing the things.
Okay, and why do we see it again? Already we did the exercise and we developed a security risk treatment. Why we have to repeat these steps in the operations again?
Because in the when we first made it, we just started the development and the planning for it. But in in clause 8, we're actually going through the steps of implementing it physically in the company and operating it and starting it.
Okay, but the main reason, as we mentioned, that the information risk management, it's a continual process. When we start in clause number 6, it was the planning. It was the first time. It was the initial time for risk management, for risk assessment. But this risk assessment, it will not be the only one which we have to follow. It's a continual part. And if it's continual part, then this means that it should appear where? It should be appeared in the operations again. Then, as we mentioned, life is dynamic. Now you did your exercise. It's great. And everything, it's great in your environment. You discovered risks, you defined the security risk treatment, but we found that there are some changes. For example, we find changes in the, what we can say, the organization context or technology or standards or market. Then according to these changes, there will be some changes in the risks. There will be the assessed risks. It may have different levels. It may increase, it may decrease, or there may be some new emerging risks which we have to take it in our consideration. And this is the reason why we are seeing the information security risk assessment and risk treatment coming again in the operations, because it's a part of a continual movement, continual improvement. Okay, now we have to understand the requirements for the operational planning and control. We have to implement the control processes needed in the operations. We have to implement the plans, implement the plan to achieve information security objectives, which we already defined it in 6.2, and we have to implement the procedures required for implementing the security risk treatment plan. We said that the risk treatment plan, it is the intermediate or the interface between the planning phase and do phase. In planning phase, we worked about in 4 clauses: in organization context, leadership and commitment, in planning, in resources. And as a result of this study, we came with the security risk treatment plan, which summarizes all the risks and the treatment and what are the controls which we have to design it and implement it. And the risk treatment plan, it is the result of the or output of the planning phase, and it's considered as the input for the operational phase. And this means that it is the interface between the plan phase and the operation phase or act phase. Also, we have to make the plan for change management, resource management, information security incidents. And you remember when I told you all these processes for operations, required processes for operations, they are delivered or they are you can find all these processes from the ITIL courses. From the ITIL courses, at least if you are familiar with the ITIL courses, foundation course, version 4, it will be great because it will give you some important information about the required processes to manage the operations or security operations in the organizations. Okay. In XYZ company, we will concentrate on the change management, on the resource management, and the incident management. These are three management processes which we concentrate on. Okay, I think this is the time for prayer. I will break now, and if you don't mind, I will ask for 15 minutes, not 10. Anyway, today we are not on a hurry. We are in a good pace, and we will be able to finish module number 7 today. Then if you don't mind, I want to have 15 minutes, and we will come back again after 15 minutes, inshallah. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.